Hello and welcome to installing Python. In these videos, we are going to be using Python 3.9. Now, if you don't have Python, you're going to need Python. Now, if you have a Mac, like what I'm using here, it comes with Python, but it comes with Python 2, and that's no good. We need Python 3. And we're going to be using Python 3.9. Now, if you're on Windows, you're going to need Python as well. So if you head on over to python.org and click on Downloads, you can go in here and you can download the proper version that you're looking for. So I'm going to be using Python 3.9.0, and I'm just going to install that or download that. Where are you? Download. And if you scroll on down here, you can download different versions here. So I'm on a Mac, 64-bit, so I would download this one. If you're on Windows, Windows 10 most likely, or Windows 7, you're going to want to download the Windows version. And that's probably going to be your executable installer, your Python 3.9.0.exe. And then you're going to want to install that. So I already have Python installed on my computer. But once you have that downloaded and installed, what you can do is you can open up your command line. Now, if you're on Windows, you're going to want to probably use Windows Subsystem for Linux, WSL. That's just the easiest way to work on a Unix-based system. If you're on Mac, all you have to do is open up your app called Terminal. And once you have Python installed, you should be able to do Python-V, and it's going to show you your version. Now, if it shows you the wrong version, like if you do Python-V and it says like Python 2, that's no good. You can do Python 3-V, and it'll show you that I'm using Python 3.8 as my default. And if I want Python 3.9, I can do Python 3.9-V. And it's going to show me Python 3.9.0. So in this course, we're going to be using newer Python, Python 3.9.0. Now, if you're watching this in the future, after this was recorded, and there's a new version of Python, go ahead and get the newest version. You don't need to have Python 3.9 or 3.8 or 3.7. You can get the newest version of Python. So go ahead and make sure you download and install Python. And once you have it downloaded and installed, let's go ahead and look at how we can actually run some Python code in our command line. Okay, let's take a look at how we can run some Python code. So first of all, there's really one way to run Python code. The main way is through your terminal, but there are different types of terminals. So on Windows, you can use Windows Subsystem for Linux, or you can just use PowerShell or Bash if you're on Linux, or Terminal if you're on Mac OS, or iTerm2 if you're on Mac OS. You know, whatever command line tool works for you. All we really need to do is open up our command line tool here. And if I just clear this, I should be able to type Python 3.9-V. And we're going to see it's Python 3.9.0 that I'm using. Now, to execute any Python file is really easy. So typically you just type Python and then your file name .py. Py stands for Python. Py. Now, if Python is using Python 2 or a different version of Python you don't want to be using, you can always just type in like Python 3.8 if you have a newer version, or just Python 3 or Python 3.9, and then your file name .txt. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. At this point in time, you should already have a text editor installed. If you don't have a text editor, I highly suggest VS Code. It's made by Microsoft, it's well maintained, it's fast, it's intuitive, it's smart. It is a good editor. And if you're like me, you don't really like Microsoft products, well, hey, guess what? This is one of the good ones. So let's go ahead and open up VS Code. And in here, we can go to, I think it's just View, and then, Terminal. And this will open up a little terminal for us in here. And in here, we can write the exact same command, Python-V, Python 3.9-V is going to give me 3.9. Now, first things first, we need to create a new file here. So let's just call this one Hello World. And let's do a print statement. Let's print Hello World. And what I'm going to do is File, Save As, and I'm going to save this right to my desktop. Hello World.py. And you can see down here that this automatically told me this is a Python file. If it doesn't do that, you can go down here and you can select Python, but it should automatically do that for you. Next, we want to do an ls-la, or if you're on Windows, you can type dir, and you'll be able to find where you are exactly. So I don't think I'm actually on my desktop right now. pwd, I'm not. So what I want to do here is cd over to my desktop. And if I do ls-la, or if you're on Windows, again, you can just type dir, ls-la is going to show me all of these different files that I have in here. And I've got one in here called hello world somewhere. Hello world, where are you? Hello world.py. So what I can do now is Python 3.9. And instead of -v, we're just going to give the file name. So hello, and then I hit tab for auto-completion, hello world.py, because I have two files. And it says hello world, and I can do anything I want in here. Hello world from Python 101. And let's go ahead and rerun this command. Hello world from Python 101. And that's how we run our code in our terminal. And so in the future, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be writing some code in here, and I'm also going to switch back to my terminal where I can actually write some code in here. And it's the exact same thing. So I could cd over to my desktop. And if you need a command line refresher, I have a command line 101 course. Definitely go check that out. So all I did was change directories to my desktop. And now I can do the same thing here. Python 3.9 hello world.py. And it says the same thing. Now, what I'm going to do behind the scenes is I'm going to alias Python 3.9 to be just Python. So when you see me type Python in the future, if this, again, turns out to be Python 2 for you, just make sure you type Python 3 or Python 3.9 if you've got multiple versions of Python on your computer. And what I would like you to do is very simply create a new file called hello world and print something. So write print parentheses, and then in quotations, hello world. And then you need that ending quotation and that ending print statement. And then in your, either in your terminal, or in your VS Code terminal, or in your PyCharm terminal, or wherever you are, just type Python 3.9 or Python, just straight Python, hello world.py, and make sure that it works. Once that's working, you know you have the right version of Python installed, and it is working with Python 3. In the next lesson, let's go ahead and take a look at some basic arithmetic using Python. Okay, welcome to Basic Arithmetic. In this lesson, we're going to take a look at just some basic math. And this is really, really important to know because we can do some really cool things with simple mathematics. So, for example, we're going to be talking about addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, exponents, and this thing called modulus, which is really just a remainder. It's a really fancy word for remainder. And so what you see in front of me here is I have just gone to File, Open, and I opened a whole folder called Python 101. And you can do this on your VS Code as well. And it just opened up this folder for me. So all of my working files are going to be on the side on the left here. And so I want to go over to View and open up my terminal again. And this way we've got our files on the left and we have our terminal at the bottom, and we can write some code up top in here. And so let's take a look at some basic arithmetic. Now there's two ways we can execute Python. We can execute Python in a .py file like we did in the last lesson where we had hello world, or in your terminal, wherever you want to use that, you can simply type Python. And if you want to get out of this Python shell, we can just type quit, opening and closing parentheses, and that will quit it for us. So I could type Python 3.9. And you can see that the first one was using Python 3.8 because I haven't made that alias yet. I said I was going to, but I haven't got around to it yet. And this one is Python 3.9. And so now we can do some basic arithmetic in here. Let's go ahead and move this up. And let's do some basic arithmetic. So we could do like 5 plus 5 is going to be 10. And this is just executing simple Python for us right in our Python shell. So that's addition. We just use the plus sign. Subtraction is very, very similar. Let's go ahead and make this just a wee bit bigger here. We could do like 99 minus 11. That's going to give us 88. 4 times 4 is going to be 16, and we just use an asterisk. So on a standard North American English keyboard, you use Shift 8, and that gives you this little character here. And so when I hit enter, that's going to be 16. Division is just a slash, just like that. So we could do 100 divided by 25, and that's going to give us 4. And you can actually see that gave us 4.0. That's technically a float. That's not an integer. We're going to talk about these in the future. Now to clear your terminal, let's say I write a bunch of stuff and it gives me errors. I can just hit Control L. Control L tends to clean out the terminal for me. So that's what I'm going to be doing in the future. Now let's talk about exponents. We could do 4 to the power of 4. That's 2 multiplication signs side by side. That is the power of. So in other languages, it sometimes looks like this, 4 to the power of 4. In Python, it's 4 star star 4, and that gives us an exponent. So this is going to be 4 times 4 times 4, which in my mind is going to be 64. Nope, I was super wrong, 256. This is why we let computers do mathematics for us. And then we have this weird one called modulus, M-O-D-U-L-U-S, modulus. And all this is going to do is give us a remainder. So if we did 10 divided by 3, we're going to see 3.333333335. It's a weird one. So let's say we wanted the remainder. So 3 goes into 10 3 times, so 369, and it has a remainder of 1. So we can do modulus here. And to get that remainder, we use the modulus sign, which is really simply a percent sign. So we can do modulus 3, and this is going to give us 1. And again, that goes 3, 6, 9, and then it basically takes that last number and says 10 minus 9, and that gives us our remainder. And so if you remember doing long division, well, maybe not remember how to do long division, but if you remember long division from school, it's basically that. It's going to give us the remainder very easily. We don't have to do any sort of long division. And in fact, a lot of people think you need to know a lot of math to get into web development or into programming or into Python. The truth is you do not. And here is the case in point. I could do something like 88 modulus 6.4. Now, I don't remember how to do long division. It's a fairly simple thing in mathematics, but I just don't remember how to do it. That was a long time ago for me. And that was an unexpected indent. If you ever see that, you probably have an extra space in there. And this is going to give us a modulus of 4.799999999999995. And so I don't need to know long division anymore. The computer knows how to do it. And that is the nice thing about pretty much all programming languages, not just Python, but all programming languages can do this. So what I would like you to do is go ahead and try some basic addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, try modulus, and also try exponents. Now, truth be told, you're not actually going to be using modulus and exponents all that often. You probably won't even really use multiplication all that often, or maybe even division all that often in web development. But in data science, you're going to use these all the time, and these are very, very important, especially when you get into things like algorithms, if you ever wanted to get into algorithms. Now, in web development, you don't need to get into algorithms. It's not really all that important unless you're working for Google and you're working with Google's search division, which is pretty unique. Most web development, you don't need that. So go ahead and give addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, modulus, and exponents a try. Make sure you open up your Python terminal. So again, quit. And I just went into Python, and that goes straight into my Python terminal for me, or my Python shell, as I call it, the Python shell. And to quit, you just type quit parentheses, and that gets you out. When you're done that, let's head on over to the next lesson where we learn about variables.